Okay, so for this first tutorial today, what we're going to be looking at is editing for continuity, and that's honestly probably one of the most important aspects of editing that I can teach you right now, because this is what makes everything stick together. There's lots of ways to maintain continuity, and I'm going to show you one of the most basic ways. And really, if you can figure out how to do this, honestly, every other version of editing for continuity, every other kind of example you come up with is basically just a variation of this exact same thing. So let's get into it. I've got my footage here. You have your footage. What you're going to use for your editing for continuity little video clip is going to be those two shots that you made of somebody running. And you're going to begin with your wide shot, and then you're going to cut into a closer shot. So I have shots that are kind of like that, but I've got this one here, and it's got a lot of stuff at the start that isn't very helpful. So I'm just moving up to where I've marked my in point, and I'm going to play it, and you can see what happens. There's a young lady walking, walking, walking. Comes to a stop, turns around. That's basically the meat of that shot that I want to play with today. And the second shot pretty much repeats the same action, but we're in a close-up. So she steps into the shot and repeats that head move. Now, there's a couple different ways that I can put these two shots together, but the point is I want to cut in a moment where that action, either her walking forward or her turning her head, is where I want to join things together, because that mentally will help us as viewers to connect those two things together in space. So let me show you what I mean. I'm going to take this shot. I'm going to go back to preview. I'm just double-clicking the footage to preview it. And then I am going to mark an in point just by, I'm going to move this through here. I'm just going to start it, let's just say right about here, just for fun. And I'm going to press I to mark my end point. I can also use this button here. And I'm going to let it play through. And she turns her head. And I'm going to mark an out point by pressing O. You can also press this button here. Drag that down to my timeline. There it is. Change my sequence settings. Fine. Now this is really, really tiny here. Let's just grab this little circle here, squish it over to the left, and you notice things get a lot bigger, which is great. I can also hold down Alt and my scroll wheel and do the same thing and zoom in and out quite quickly and easily. So that's a handy way to get in closer to your footage. So that's my first shot. My second shot is, in my bin. It's this second piece here where she walks into the shot. So I'll start it there, and then she turns her head. And that's, again, pretty much all I want. So I'm going to grab that and put it down here. Now I'm just going to quickly play this. Now you can see these shots, they don't go together well because it's repeating the same action, which I don't want. I don't want to do that. I want to actually cut on the action. So again, there's two spots that I could do it. One is when she's moving forward. So let's try that. So what I'm going to do is maybe about there, take this piece, pull it back, and then I'm going to grab this piece, and I'm going to cut it right when she's coming into frame, right about there. Now if I move that over here, that's not bad. Those two parts, I'll back it up a bit more. Those two parts join together much more logically now. That feels good. I want to experiment one more thing here. We'll try one more thing. I'm going to back this up to before she's in the frame, and then I'm going to start this, and let's just see how that feels. Okay, see, that feels weird because she kind of disappears. I don't know. That's personal preference maybe, but I like it when she's actually in the frame. Now that's one place I can cut it, and that makes logical sense. The other spot, of course, is where she turns her head. So I'm going to just use Control-Z to back up to where my footage was originally. And I'm going to look at this spot, and she turns her head, and I want to start somewhere in like the middle. Generally, when you're cutting on an action, you want to cut somewhere in the middle, not too close to the beginning, not too close to the end, because if it's too close to the beginning, your viewer hasn't had time to register that actual motion, and towards the end, you don't actually get much more action after the cut if you're too close to the end of the action. So you want to do it somewhere in the middle. So here we go. I'm going to do it right about there. We'll try that. And again, this might be a little bit of trial and error, but we'll just try this out and see how that feels. So just backing it up. That's not bad. I would want to tweak that just a tiny bit more, but you can see again how just that simple head turn helps join those two shots together in space. So every time you're doing an edit in your videos, it's kind of the way you should be trying to approach things. How do these two shots join together? Do they look similar? Is there a similar action, a motion, similar framing? But always think about how those shots go together, because that will create flow with your video rather than just a big smattering of disjointed and unrelated images. That gets very jarring on your viewer. Yes, you can do that sometimes for effect, but by practice, you should be trying to make things join together logically so that your viewer knows what's going on and where they are at all times.